Last time on Let's Play Mega Man X. You grab it and then you die, you grab it and then you die again, you grab it and die again, and now we're up against Boba Fett. He really is Boba Fett.
Don't forget to put some toast in the toaster because, as they say, all toasters toast. You'll also want to make sure that that toaster is sentient, because otherwise this whole thing isn't going to come about.
Zero can say, but I live on through this arm! And now the conclusion. You know, it's always the bald guys who turn out to be the horrible villains. Like Walter White, for instance. But then again, I guess Hank turned out to be pretty decent. This is the Mississippi King welcoming y'all back to more Let's Play Mega Man X. And in this episode, well, this is the finale of Let's Play Mega Man X. So that's right, we're going to finish the game and tackle the remaining Sigma stages. The last three, in fact, starting with Stage 2. And I feel I should explain the reason that I chose Phantasy Star IV music for the bosses. For the speed montage regarding all of the bosses that we've already faced, all of the Mavericks, that is. That's because, well, this game has included a lot of new RPG elements, and that is pretty cool. I like that they introduced them. In fact, the reason that they added things like heart tanks and upgrades is because of the influence of the RPG genre. This was getting to the point where they were kind of reaching their peak, or I don't really want to say peak, but they were becoming massively popular, shall we say. And Phantasy Star IV is an RPG as well. A very incredible RPG, in fact, and thus I felt it was worth highlighting its excellent music, or some of it anyway. And so I'm actually considering a change in the info cards for the record, because, you see, what I've been doing is including like a large text box for all of the information on the enemies. However, like, I'm considering not including that large text thing in the future, just because I feel it may make the info cards kind of too clunky. But right now we're facing off against Rotanga Panga, Rosanga Bazinga, Latanga Panga, Lambda Badanga, however you want to say his name. He's actually a very easy boss, but one that is very fun. This actually isn't the last time we'll be seeing him, though. I mean, he's such a good boss that they ended up reusing him for a future X game. Not gonna say what that is, but fans of the series should know this. And, of course, as I've said in the first episode, I'm not going to be including height and weight information for future Mavericks, because future games don't include that information. So of course I wasn't intending to include that in future games, because like, I really can't include that. So of course that will be absent from future games. And as for the large text boxes in the middle of the screen, I just feel they wouldn't really fit, they wouldn't be appropriate. They just don't feel like they add much. Well, I mean, I'm adding it for the remainder of this playthrough, but of course not for the entire series, or at least I'm not sure I will. Like, for the core characters, maybe it adds something, but I'm not so sure for, like, future games, so I may not add that. So one thing that's interesting about this game is that the way that the boss refights are handled is very different from the previous games, not just well, there are no previous X games. What am I saying? It's different from previous games in the Mega Man series because you fight them in a set order. And that's not really how you fight them in the original series. Apart from the first game where you do fight them in a set order. In previous games in the Mega Man series, and indeed in future X games, you instead just fight them in any order you want in a specific room. So that's going to be different in future games. So for future games it will just be like how I handled previous LPs of the Mega Man series, where like I'll put a song for the boss room instead of like switch between 8 different ones instead. But this here is D-Rex. It's actually a very easy boss, I find. If you're playing this without any heart tanks or the armor upgrade, then it does a ton of damage. It can, like, pack a serious punch, but I still find it to be easy because its pattern is pretty predictable and not very difficult to dodge. But now we're facing Velguarder in the final Sigma stage. And Velguarder is Sigma's pet, of course, so I hope y'all are ready for this, cause this is the last stage. So you may have noticed that there are no large text boxes with the end bosses, or most of them anyway, and that's just because they're not provided for most of the end bosses in the Sigma stages or their analogs in future games.
Welcome. I see you managed to get here by yourself. Very impressive. I could destroy you, but I would not rob my pet of that pleasure. He knows how to deal with betrayers. Should you live, I will be waiting for you. Don't disappoint me, X.
Well, no information provided in the Mega Man X Legacy Collection Gallery. So now we're facing off against Velguarder, who is Sigma's pet, as I said before. His weakness is, of course, the ISIS shotgun, as the info card will no doubt say. You can just spam it, and it will take him out pretty easily. See, I managed to do that without taking any damage.
Excellent job, X. I see why Zero counted on you. You are almost as good a hunter as I was. But the time of your destruction has arrived. You shall regret ever having defied me.
And now we're fighting Sigma's second form. The second form, however, is very easy. I'd say it's actually the easiest part of the fight, because it's a very simple pattern. It's very easy to, take advantage of his pattern by, getting him to land on the bottom right below you and firing off two electric sparks at him. That's his weakness, by the way, but it's not, a huge advantage, so it's not something that will, make it significantly easier. It's just kind of convenient, because otherwise it's just a boring war of attrition. He goes down very easily, actually. This fight, however, is kind of tricky. Now y'all may be thinking, well, why? It doesn't look so hard at first. Well, there's a third form, and that's quite a bit different. And boy howdy, the third form, known as Wolf Sigma, packs quite a punch. And that's if you have the armor upgrades and all the heart tanks. So you see that this guy is putting up quite a fight. His attacks can do ridiculous amounts of damage. And plus it's fairly easy to get hit because his pattern is a little unpredictable. It's very chaotic and it's very easy to get hit. However, because of just how precise this fight demands you to be, I find it to be a very fun and engaging fight. It's one that I enjoy a lot. This is quite the difficulty spike. I mean, this final boss can trip up even expert players. It can be quite unexpected if, you think that the game up to this point has been easy, and yeah, it kind of has been very easy, actually.
No! It's not possible! I'm a Red Lord! I can't be destroyed by you! Why, X? Why have you done this to us? Without the humans, my Red Lord brothers could have ushered in a new age!
And we just beat the game. That's it. However, this is what happens when you tackle it without any heart tanks or the body part. Actually, nothing happens, but this is still pretty cool. So I wanted to show this off since I am just mad skilled at this game. Even though I'm contradicting myself by getting hit by Velguarder, I didn't get hit to him on my LP, like the previous playthrough that you just saw, but there I go, ended up getting attacked by him. But yeah, I ain't got any heart tanks or the armor upgrade, so yeah, I'm hardcore. I can often pull stuff like this off. That is what years of practice will do to you. Although this part of the fight is ridiculously easy, so I mean, you really don't need anything for this fight, because it's just kind of long and boring. Sigma's second phase is very easy. It doesn't really make any difference whether you have any health extensions or the body part. Still, a Wolf Sigma, of course, is pretty dangerous if you ain't got any heart tanks, because, well, go figure, this guy packs a punch if you have all that stuff. So, he can kill you in just a few hits. Like, we're talking original Mega Man levels of difficulty. This is the kind of stuff you'd expect to see in, like, the very early Mega Man games, where, like, the bosses could sometimes kill you in a few hits, like with Iceman or Elecman, although Iceman was kind of easy because of his pattern, I digress. And to make matters worse, every single time you die to Wolf Sigma, you're forced to watch a long ad that tells you to subscribe to a YouTuber known as the Mississippi King. I'm not even sure that's possible. YouTube doesn't even exist at this point. This is the 90s after all. How are they able to advertise for a site that doesn't even exist yet? That is beyond me. Most people back then didn't understand what YouTube was, but it makes sense now. So next up, we'll show off what happens when you use the fire wave underwater. And that's it, folks. We are done with the game. We're moving on. This is it, so now all that's left is the ending. Sigma's fortress explodes, and Zero is dead for some reason, even though he was just introduced, and there's not enough time to get attached to him, but I digress. And the ending kinda sucks. The war has ended, for now, and peace has been returned, but those who have sacrificed themselves for the victory will never return. Now excuse me while I laugh that off. Exhausted, X gazes at the destruction he helped cause, and wonders why he chose to fight. Was there another way? I'll explain what I mean about my laugh later. Standing on the cliff, the answers seem to escape him. He only knows that he'll fight the Mavericks again before he finds his answer. How long will he keep on fighting? How long will his pain last? Maybe only the X-Buster on his arm knows for sure. So, it's kind of a lame ending, cause it's like, well, that didn't really resolve much. And I get that they're going for a darker story this time around, but it's like, surely you could have, like, gone for something else, cause really, that ending is not very fulfilling. It does very little to actually wrap up the loose ends, and of course Zero is dead for no reason. I think that that was a stupid idea to sacrifice him when, like, you just introduced him, and you can't really get attached to him in, like, one game where he's barely even there, actually. And plus, this later leads to something that undermines a later moment in the series. We'll get to that, trust me. It's pretty annoying that they decided to go with that. And actually, speaking of Zero, I know that Zero has his own info. Like, there's some information on Zero himself. However, I'm saving his info card for Mega Man X3, and I'll explain why when we get to Mega Man X3. But I do think that that will be the most effective choice. I chose to spare his info card for that point. And I'm also including X's info card in this credit sequence. That was planned from the start, as was including Zero's info card in a very specific moment in Mega Man X3. I'll talk about that when I get to it. I just felt that it was most thematically appropriate to include X's info card at the credits. I mean, I know I'm being kind of vague on that, and I'm kind of sorry for that, but it's I don't know if you'd call it a spoiler, but still, I'd rather not get into that. But that's all, folks. This has been Mega Man X, and we're done with the game, folks. After this, we'll just move straight on to Mega Man X2, which should be exciting. Look forward to that, folks. I've been waiting to get around to Mega Man X2 for a while now. This credit sequence features a lot of weird people who worked on this game, like apparently this features a cow, an AI, an elf, someone also known as, or aka, Tatsunoko. I'm not sure how an entire company can be one person, but then again, the Weekly World News is Bat Boy's son, so I guess anything's possible. As well as Professor F. I'm not sure what that stands for, and I'm not sure I want to know. Then, of course, there's the all-powerful White Rock. I didn't know rocks could program. This is a first. This game has broadened my horizons, my view of the world. It's incredible. But that's it, folks. We are done, and as for future projects, of course, I said Mega Man X2, but I'm not really sure what else I'll be doing at the moment. I'll figure that out shortly, but at this exact moment, it's kind of undecided and up in the air, so whatever.
You have won a temporary victory, X. What you destroyed was only a temporary body. My spirit remains intact. In time, I will find other bodies strong enough to do my bidding, and I will return. I shall see you soon, X. Very soon. Next time, we play through Mega Man X2.
See you then. Actually, before we go, there is one thing that I need to talk about. No more box art time. 'Cause you see, there's not much to talk about for the box arts. They're kind of just serviceable. None of them are bad. They all do their job perfectly fine, although there is one box art that I legitimately hate, but trust me, we'll get to that, and plus it's not because it looks ugly or anything like that. It still kind of sucks. None of them are particularly ugly. I mean, they all do their job, both the American and Japanese box arts. Although, when we get to Mega Man X7 and X8, I will be talking about their butt-ugly PAL box art. That's for another day, however. But this is the Mississippi King, signing out, and next time we'll be tackling Mega Man X2. See you then.